My name's Kathryn Palumbo. I'm 53 years old and I live in Vancouver. Approximately 135 hours, but I have been coming to the EESystem for 2 hours once a week for the last 8 months. I was struggling with CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, for about 20 years, which is a combination of Lyme disease, mold exposure, and heavy metal toxicity. At my worst, I was in bed for about 3 years with chronic fatigue. And in contrast, my life before this, I was very physically active. I used to teach fitness. I was a Pilates instructor. I was even Miss Fitness Canada in 1994. At my lowest point, I was having hot flashes every 3 minutes because of hormone imbalances and premature aging. So I was in perimenopause at around age 34, and I was having intense cold intolerance. So I was having to wear layers of clothing and then have a hot flash and have to take them off and so on. So it was back and forth. First one was my hair started turning white very early and excessively in the last few years. And then vision, I was having vision loss, and night vision was a problem. I was only 47, and they normally only show up around age 70. I started working with a functional medicine doctor in the fall of 2019 and focused on targeted treatments specific for CIRS. The process of oxalate elimination took about 3 years, and I'm still on it. It helped to rebalance my hormones. I was on hormone replacement therapy as well throughout this whole period, although it wasn't necessarily making a difference when I was in the depths of my illness. It only really started to make a difference once I started to flush out the oxalates. And I also did a program called DNRS, which is Dynamic Neural Retraining System, which helps to recalibrate the limbic system and teach you to get out of fight or flight. For years, I was in a chronic state of fight or flight, which I, of course, wasn't aware of. I thought that was just how I was dealing with stress, but my adrenals were on overdrive because I had so much inflammation from the illness. By the time I found the EESystem, I had already put in some foundational changes in place. Those foundational changes were changing my diet, getting oxalates out, sleeping, learning to sleep, calming my fight or flight system, my limbic system through DNRS, lots of sunlight, getting natural vitamin D, and I had been taking a lot of supplements. During this period, I was actually starting to reduce the amount of supplements, transitioning to more of a natural healing program. And I was also doing breath work, meditation, and Qigong. Despite this, I was still challenged with a few chronic issues. Firstly, I was challenged with chronic fatigue. I couldn't get out of bed early, and I couldn't do any physical activity beyond just walking around the block. When my thyroid was not working optimally, I would drag myself out of bed around 9:30 and just have enough energy to eat something and then be back on the couch for a few hours, and then I'd wake up again and eat and then take another nap. The only energy I had was to sit and read. If I forced myself to walk around the block, I'd need my son to accompany me. I'd be out of breath and move very slowly. My balance was challenged as well. So the second issue I was dealing with was thyroid. And I was on thyroid medication for about 4 to 5 years, which was causing a lot of chronic fatigue. The third issue I had was brain fog, which took a lot of energy to accomplish tasks. The fourth issue was poor sleep habits. I would wake up between 3 and 5 in the morning, and never wake up refreshed. I was tracking my deep sleep using an Oura ring, which ranged from 0 minutes to 40 minutes on a good night. Ideal is around 1 hour and 30 minutes, so I knew I wasn't getting deep restorative sleep. Without this deep restorative sleep, my body just could not heal. The fifth issue I was having was hormonal imbalances with having the occasional hot flash through the night. That was indicating that my hormones were still not fully in balance. A friend of mine told me about the EESystem, and I actually didn't know it was so close to me. I did a Google search and found out that it was in my neighborhood essentially, and so I made an appointment in April 2024, and I've been coming here since. I came to the EESystem because I still had some underlying issues that hadn't resolved, and I was curious to see if it would make a difference. Within the first 20 minutes of being in the room, I felt like my cells were rearranging themselves. And that was a unique experience, and I felt like there was really something different going on here. Typically, I fall asleep within 20 to 30 minutes of being in the room, and when I wake up, I feel really refreshed. After my first session, within 5 days of being in the scalar frequencies, my body seemed to call me back as if I needed a top up. And the feeling was that I couldn't wait to recharge my cells. The second change that I noticed was that my body started to heal old injuries. Within a month, I started having pain and old injuries resurfacing in my lower legs, my calves and my ankles, and I couldn't really walk around. Rather, I was limping most of the time, thinking, what have I done to myself now? And within a month, though, as quickly as the old injuries surfaced, they went away as if I had never had them in the first place. My body finally had the capacity and the energy to direct that healing energy there. The third change I noticed was increased brain capacity and creative flow. And after about 2 months of being in weekly sessions, I started formulating a book. The story had been taking shape in my mind, and I felt compelled to write. And I spent the following 2 months writing nonstop. I had the brain capacity and creative flow and energy to direct towards this writing project, which I completely attribute to the EESystem, to the weekly sessions. I felt like there was more blood flow to my brain, which was helping me. First major change I noticed was getting off my thyroid medication within the first 4 months of starting the EESystem. Did speak to my doctor about it, but according to my blood work, she felt that I should stay on it a little bit longer. And so then about a month later, I started noticing symptoms of hyperthyroidism, which was the opposite of what I was being medicated for. So after about a week of my symptoms accelerating, I chose to stop taking the medication myself, and I then saw my doctor about a week later, and she was a little concerned because my blood work showed that I still could benefit from the thyroid medication, but I decided that I would stay off of it. If I crashed, I could just restart the medication if I needed to. And so let's see, it was about the end of August that I stopped the medication, and now at the time of filming this, it's the end of December, and I have not had any thyroid medication since, and I feel good. I'm still cautious not to overdo it, but it's encouraging to be more engaged in life and what feels like using real energy, not borrowed. The next big change was suddenly becoming physically active. I was able to start climbing some stairs, specifically at Wreck Beach, where there's over 400 stairs, and swimming twice in 1 week. And I attribute this to the deep cellular healing from the EESystem, the frequencies, and my body coming into a certain balance where I could get off the medication. Improvement to my night vision. For years, during the worst period of my illness, I avoided driving at night, not trusting my night vision. The headlights seemed to be so much brighter, and when my night vision was declining, the lights looked like starbursts. I'd have to deflect the light with my hand and avert my gaze to the side of the road. Now I don't think twice about driving at night. I have to remind myself how far I've come. Change to my sleep, so I started getting more deep sleep. So now I have about an hour and a half of both REM and deep sleep, whereas before I was only getting about 20 minutes of deep sleep. So I track my deep sleep with my Oura Ring, which gives me all the data. Yes, I definitely recommend regular sessions in the EESystem for people with chronic and acute issues. I found that the exposure accelerated my healing faster than the trajectory I was already on. I was sort of at a plateaued, I was getting by, but for sure it was so obvious to me that these weekly sessions were contributing to this rapid healing. And whether it was the fact that I was napping in the afternoon once a week on a regular basis, combined with the exposure to this system, had something to do with it. So initially I was hesitant about investing the money weekly into this intangible modality, already having spent a small fortune on healing treatments over the years. But with the EESystem, I'm now accelerating my health to a point where I'm both reducing the amount of prescriptions as well as reducing the number of natural supplements I'm taking. It's been a massive win. Why wouldn't you do it and take the chance? Investing in healing yourself cellularly and get to a better place where you can do the things you love again. Obviously, everyone's results vary, but from what I've seen, those of us who are consistent have seen remarkable turnaround in health outcomes. Had I known to invest into a 3 or 4 month immersion program to get the results I have now after 8 months of an average of 2-hour weekly sessions, I would have jumped at the opportunity. Hindsight is 20/20, and that's essentially what these testimonials are for. People listening to this testimonial, I would recommend for people with acute or chronic illness to maybe do what I did. Come to the facility once a week for 2-hour sessions, or better yet, immerse yourself into a 3 or 4 month pilot program where you can have unlimited access to this frequency.